The Model Shop live scale modeling show is brought to you by Tenant Controls, makers of lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenant Controls brings your models to life. And by HDA ModelWorks, suppliers of scale model lighting products, detail parts, and complete model kits. Visit HDAModelWorks.com today. Hi there again, everybody. Welcome to the Model Shop Live Scale Modeling Show here in San Antonio, Texas. I'm your host, Boyd Crompton. It's great to be back with you guys. We've been off again for a couple of weeks here. I've been busy myself with a lot of stuff going on here in the shop with model builds I've been working on, and got some family stuff going on and some vacation time and all kinds of good stuff. But I'm really happy to be back with you guys live tonight. Be looking forward to getting into the chat session a little bit later on and see what's going on with the rest of the community out there. So tonight we got a nice little show in store for you. We're going to take you over to our community and on our Google site and get you caught up with the activities going on over there. Quite a few interesting builds going on from our members over there. It's some really awesome work as usual. We're going to be showing you some work on the bench tonight. We're going to work on our decals that just came in from our good friend Jerry at HDA ModelWorks. These are for the Mobius Discovery model kit, and we have the Paragraphics photo etch set that we've been working on for the interior spaces of the model. So tonight we're going to apply the decals on our photo etch and start bending some of the photo etch up and get it shaped up and ready to be put into the model. A little bit later this week on my regular TrekWorks channel, I'll be doing an update on the Mobius model build itself, and we'll kind of tie everything together. We're going to show you the photo etch going in and some of the lighting. I've also got the Tenant Controls lighting kit for that, which has just been released by Tenant Controls. It's a really nice little system featuring a little key fob with a remote control so you can operate your special effects, and we can power the model on its own with a little 9-volt battery for all of our lighting. So we're going to show you that when we do our update on the TrekWorks channel this week. Right now, let's head over to the Google community. I'm going to pull up the page here and make sure I get my screen settings right. And we'll head over here and check out what's going on. We have from John Smith. He's given us a nice update on his Enterprise E. This is the AMT Ertl kit that he's been working on. As you can see, he's been doing a lot of work on this. This particular kit comes with none of the windows drilled out, so keep that in mind if you're a builder out there that's interested in doing the AMT Ertl kit. It's one of the Star Trek kits out there that unfortunately you've got to do a lot of window drilling. There's lots of YouTube videos and things like that out there on guides and different techniques people use for creating that and working with that. But beautiful update on that. Let's scroll through some of his pictures here. You can see he's showing you how he did some of the internal lighting and everything. If you come over to the Google community website, you can click on all these little blogs and follow along with each one of these projects that's going on. So some nice updates from John. Our good friend Dennis Statler here is giving us a little picture of the weather going on in his area. Kind of hard to believe. I'm down here in Texas, but kind of hard to believe that here we are, almost the second week of April, and we've got 20 inches of snow going on in some parts of the country. So I feel sorry for you guys out there. I think spring's just around the corner, though. Hopefully it will be. We have another update from John Hunt as well on the Mobius Viper that he's working on. Thomas Johnson posted a nice little picture here of the original RMS Titanic, and I happen to be a lot of interest in that subject myself. Over the years, I always on the this time of the year, I think it's on the 14th and 15th of April was when the tragedy occurred of the sinking, and I'll usually go back and watch the original A Night to Remember film and some other stuff, some documentaries that are some of my favorites about the Titanic, just to kind of remember it every year. I'm really excited about the news related to modeling on this subject. There's a pretty strong rumor floating around that there's going to be a 1/200 scale kit of this ship released by Trumpeter, and if they did that, that would be incredible. I've always wanted to have a really super large scale model of the Titanic that you could do all the intricate detail work and do all the lighting and everything, and if that comes about, I'll be one of the first people in line to buy that kit. I'll have a hard time finding a place for it because it'll probably be about 4 feet long or maybe a little more, but it'd be fantastic to have one. So hopefully that'll happen in the near future, and anybody out there in the community, if you hear anything about it, we'd appreciate it if you'd share the news over here with us. It'd be great. Jason Yates here working on the AMT Ertl Excelsior kit, doing some lighting. He's got his deflector dish going on there. Beautiful looking warp engine nacelles. Model's looking really good. Again, this is another kit that you'll have to do your own drilling of this area here for the windows and everything. I can probably make this picture so you guys can bigger so you guys can see this. But you can see there's a lot of work to do here. Back a while ago when I built one of these, I used the decal set that comes with this kit that has all the little, the dots for the windows in place here, and I just kind of laid it on there. I sealed it on there, and then I just took a hand pin vise drill and just used that as my guide for my template for doing all the windows. Excuse me, and that worked out really good. So, but there's different ways of doing that. Again, you'll be able to find many examples out there on YouTube of modelers that will show you different techniques of how to do that. Here's a really interesting one from our good friend Omar. I missed who he said the company is that puts this kit out. I'm sure if you contacted Omar directly, he could tell you, or just drop on this blog here and leave a question for him on his comments area here. But this is the Discovery model kit from the brand new television show, Star Trek Discovery. This is a solid resin kit, so it won't be suitable for doing all the intricate lighting on all the windows. Maybe there'll be a model kit of that released at some point officially by I believe Mobius has the rights to that, or maybe they haven't sold the rights to that for model kit companies yet for that new show. But I think Mobius has the movie version models, and Round 2 has everything from there forward, which is all the original Star Trek stuff. But anyway, so you can see Omar's been working with this kit here, kind of giving feedback on the quality of it and the work he's had to do to it to get it to start coming together, and he's doing a fantastic job. So you can hop over and check that out. We have Derek Sabora, who just completed this beautiful Ghostbusters Ecto-1A. I believe this is the second version of the car that was seen in... got a couple of movie cars here. We got the General Lee and the Ecto-1A. Let's have a little closer look here. Derek has gone in here and done all this individual lighting on all these effects up on the roof and on the sides here, and even on the interior. And he's done some really nice weathering on the car. From what I remember about the movie, the car looked a lot more worn and used and beat up in the second film because they were kind of running low on money. Not the movie itself, but the characters were. They were kind of going broke with the Ghostbusters business. So the car was falling into a state of disrepair, and he did a good job capturing that detail on this model. And I think most people build this a little more clean, looking for the Ecto-1 from the first film, but it looks great. And here you can see the overall car. Looks fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us, Derek. And let's see what else we have here. We have a lot going on like usual. Oh, this diorama done by DJ Modelworks. Oh, this picture's kind of small, but you can see he's done a pretty awesome job here with the diorama and hiding his support rod with all this flying dust and everything, the generally flying high. Uh, the landing's what usually hurt whenever they film one of these scenes. There's information I was doing research on when I did a General Lee a while back where I think they destroyed, close to 100 cars for the show. So it took a beating. We have some people, sci-fi fans, of course, here that are watching the new Lost in Space. I caught a couple of the episodes last night of season 1 that are now on Netflix, and I've really enjoyed what I've seen so far. I'm really excited about the new series. It's definitely more serious and a little bit more dark than the original, but I'm welcome to that. The original is a little bit hard to watch as a grown-up these days. I was fascinated as a kid. I still like all the gadgets and the ships and everything from the original show, but some of the storylines, especially with the, I remember one episode in particular where a giant carrot guy walking around, that was a little hard to swallow compared to things like Star Trek that we were watching at the time. But really excited about the new Lost in Space, so I hope a lot of you guys are checking that out there. And we'll see. Hopefully the reaction's been good, and we'll see a season 2. Some more updates on a space shuttle being built by Greg Byron. We have Jason Yates with some an earlier update on his Excelsior. You can see he's got the work showing the deflector dish and some saucer lighting going on there. And all I remember is talking about what they're currently working on and new kits they're picking up. You can see PJC here. He picked up this Cobra kit. I built this same kit a couple years ago. You're going to love that kit, PJ. It's beautiful, and it fits together really nice and goes together really well. Also, he's picked up the new Mobius USS Franklin from Star Trek Beyond. A new kit that's really all the rage right now. This one is really cool by Ken Skiffington. He's working on a 1/1000 scale. I think that's, let me go back and make sure I get that right. I think he mentioned, 2500 scale. So he's got this, he's working on this interior of the star base where you'll see the a 2500 scale USS Excelsior that he's going to be making a diorama out of to go along with this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. That is really cool, and great work on that, Ken. Very creative. Spencer Wolf learning to cut vinyl masks. He's got the nice Klingon logo going on there. Someone working on a lot of AMT Ertl kits going on right now. We have the Enterprise C, the Klingon Vorcha ship from Brian Knowles. Ozzy O with a Dragon tank kit. I'm not exactly sure what tank that is. It could be a Russian tank. World War II, obviously. Jeff Black with a, I'm not even going to try to say that, Jeff, but I'll say Krieger. Machine Krieger, I guess that's how you pronounce that. Nutcracker, and the Star Trek Voyager Kazon ship. Let's have a look here. Very nicely done. I'm just making sure I can bring these up to a larger size for you. There we go. Here's the Kazon. This particular genre of model building, Machine Krieger, is a very popular genre that's been around probably for the probably the last 3 or 4 years, and it's amazing the creativity that these the people that build them and the kit creators come up with these things. It's just amazing. It fit right in a science fiction movie. So let's see. We have. I definitely wanted to share this one. This is one of my favorites. Our good buddy Omar built this kit up. This is the original AMT. I believe it was originally called the Alien UFO. This kit was released at the same time that the original AMT Star Trek model kits were released, back in probably around 1974. And it appeared in the same small box art as the small kind of square-shaped boxes of the original AMT kits, Star Trek. And this is actually a ship that was designed by Matt Jeffries, who we're all familiar with as Star Trek fans, who designed the Enterprise, the Galileo, and several other Star Trek ships and designs. And this was a design that he just kind of created on his own. I don't know if we would have ever seen this in an episode of Star Trek. It's very possible that they may have wound up using it because they were always operating within a small budget. But it's a very interesting design. It's got an internal cargo bay that you can see opens up here with a smaller scout ship that goes in there. And Omar just basically came in here and put his own twist on this. You can see he's got some really cool lighting going on here. There's the scout ship inside with his cargo bay all lit up. And I'm just really happy. I'm really more glad than happy that people are giving this design and this kit some attention, because I always thought it was a great little kit. And I'm inspired by Omar working on this, so I'm going to at some point pick up one of these and have some fun with it. It was a kit that I remember as a kid. I picked it up and looked at it several times in the store back in the day, and I just never grabbed it because it wasn't Star Trek. But I find the design very interesting now, and especially with the history of Matt Jeffries behind it as the one who had created it. So thank you so much for sharing that, Omar, and we'll be definitely picking up one of those kits in the future and having some fun with it and put our own little twist on it in the future. So that'll be a lot of fun. Let's see. Let's give you a few more updates here, and then we're going to move on. I've got to do a kind of a fast show tonight, guys. I've got some dinner to cook. My wife's hours for her work have changed, and she's working night shift now, so I'm the cook of the house. So I've got to get everybody fed tonight. But let's see. We're going to check out new Star Trek calendars being mentioned here with all the ships from Discovery and some classic ships all mixed together, so that'll be nice. PJC also working on the Batwing kit here. And our good friend Ian with some more of the UGH model kits. I did a review on a couple of their kits a while back. These are the small little resin kits. Some of these are alternate designs for Star Trek, and they are very, very nice model kits, very high quality. They're perfect small little models for displaying them on your desktop and things like that. They're made out of solid resin, so they would be very difficult to light, but if you just want a nice little kind of a quick build, and you can see with some extra work and detail how beautiful these turn out. And Ian is really, he's been building more and more of these, and they just keep getting better and better. So fantastic work, Ian. I really like these. And these are kind of similar to the Eagle Moss ships. If you want to, some of you out there that collect those, they're about the same scale, maybe slightly larger. But the fun of it is you get to build them yourself and paint them and all that. So you can see they turn out just absolutely beautiful. Now Ian's done a lot of his own work here, so this is all painting that he did and everything. So. And possibly some decal work. But great job on that. And those are fun little kits. I highly recommend those. Omar here with another figure. This is the Blade Daywalker that he did. The old Wesley Snipes version. Really, really good likeness of him in this shot. Sunglasses and all. Beautiful job. Thanks for sharing that one with us, Armando. And then I think right around here somewhere he also did a recent Wonder Woman. Tagamo Model Works updating on this. Actually, he sent us a really cool link here to someone out there who is doing a large-scale USS Enterprise D and with a working phaser ring effect here. I watched a little clip of this video. If you get a chance, you need to check this out. This thing basically slides around and does the exact effect that it did on the television show, of course, which in the practical model on the show it never functioned. It was done with with post-production work with special effects, but this is actually a really working unit now, and it's amazing to see, and I'm really fascinated by the the things that people will do and the creativity and the work that they'll put in to make these effects become a reality, and that's how big of fans we all are about this stuff. So the enthusiasm behind it is unbelievable, and I'm just fascinated by it all the time whenever I see something like that. We have Ken's Model Shop here, working on the Hanabu. This is a experimental German flying disc that they were actually working on. I don't know if they ever got these things to actually fly. but they were definitely playing around with these ideas and designs in World War II, so they're very interesting. They again fit right into the sci-fi genre, so a lot of us sci-fi builders are into these things. I have the 172. I think it's the Squadron kit that I bought at last year's model show here in San Antonio. I want to get around to building that. Um, Modeler X with his Star Destroyer. I had the pleasure of meeting Modeler X when he was here for the model show, and we had a great time. And he's already mentioned coming down again next year, so it'll be great to see him and his wife again the next time they come. We had a great time as a group. Um, Omar with a earlier update on the Discovery. You can see he's showing you that he had to clean up some of the resin and some primer and everything to get it. It's a 3D printed model, is from what I can understand. So he had to do a little bit of cleanup and everything on it. So again, then it probably wouldn't be made out of resin then if it's 3D printed. It's whatever that material is. And at lower resolutions, you know, if you become familiar with this, as we all are starting to work with it now, it has a sort of a texture on it when it's comes out of the printer, and you'll have to do a little bit of cleanup work on that. But it keeps getting better and better. They'll get eventually the resolution will be up high enough where that probably won't be an issue anymore. And when those machines at higher resolution become more affordable, I believe that printers are going to be probably become in the future like a regular household item, kind of a primitive version of a replicator. So if you want a good stock tip, get in on 3D printers. It's probably going to be big. This is a really cool build here from Gary Hill too, the Battletech Griffin in 1/48 scale. He says it's a Revell kit, so this is pretty cool. Neat looking paint job with that modeling look here, camo. Murphy Peoples talking about his project, upcoming project here of a De Boers refit. I wasn't aware that De Boers was even still putting out kits, but that's great to see that they are. I think maybe Dennis's son took over or something, because I know Dennis had mentioned retiring a couple years ago. But you can see the scale of this compared to the 1/350 scale TOS Enterprise. So you have quite a project there, Murphy. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And it's a model that requires a lot of work, probably an internal armature and all kinds of stuff. But it'll be really cool to watch the updates coming along on that. John Hunt doing some Aztec painting on a 1/350 scale. Speaking of Enterprise refit, that's what he's working on here. Apologize for being a little hoarse tonight, guys. It's the allergy season for me. Daniel Jumper working on a Millennium Falcon. And we have a Snow Speeder and Advanced TIE Fighter set being worked on by, let's see, who's this? Bob Bruce. Even some discussion going on about creating your own Aztec masks for the 350 scale Enterprise. I'm sure a lot of people find that interesting. Our friends in the community are always sharing some really cool things. I wanted to show you guys this one out there too. This is from Gadgetron. Gadgetron had a copy of this classic old Star Trek cutaway poster of the USS Enterprise refit. I actually happen to have this poster in storage somewhere. It's a fantastic poster. It's probably one of the nicest cutaway paintings that's ever been done of the Enterprise refit. And what he did is he took it in and had it scanned at high resolution, and he has a file available for this, so you can use his link here if you read this little blog, and it'll take you over to the Sci-Fi Model Action thread that he has. He's a member over there, and there'll be a link there where you can download this actual file, and you can take this over to your local print shop and have this printed up yourself and have it for your put it in a frame and hang it up. It's absolutely that beautiful, guys. It's highly worthy of being framed, matted and framed. So I highly recommend it. And this poster was put out years and years and years ago. They do appear on eBay every once in a while, but they're kind of expensive, or most of the time when they do appear, they're kind of beat up and things like that. So this would be your chance to get a pristine copy, and just for the cost of having it printed. So thanks so much for sharing that, Gadgetron. It's really appreciated. And I think I'm going to download the file myself and just to have it, and that way I can print a backup if I ever want to put an extra one, or just to have an extra from the one that I already have. So that's really great. Some military modeling going on by Ozzy. I think this is probably a World War II era or World War I era cannon. some cars, and some rust techniques, um, scale miniature military figure modeling. It seems like that's Ozzy's into a lot of that type of modeling. Um, some more on the Excelsior. So as you can see, everybody, a lot going on. Always a lot of activity over at our community. So thanks so much for everybody staying busy over there and keep contributing. We all really appreciate that. Speaking about that, guys, I'm going to touch on a subject. I was going to kind of talk about this at the end of the show. Let me get back on my regular screen here. Um, I was going to touch on this a little bit at the end of the show, but I constantly kick around ideas here about content for the show and things like that. And uh, going back, I talked about this with some of the people who were here for the visit over the when we had our model get together weekend. I'm always interested in new content for the show and thinking about ways we can keep it fresh. And I don't like to go back and repeat a lot of the things that I've already shown you guys on here. I've gone back and kind of reviewed a lot of what we've gone through the last couple years. Kind of hard to believe we're up to episode 120 already, but we've gone through a lot of things that I used here in the shop with my own personal painting techniques, LED lighting, and things like that. And it's getting tougher and tougher for me to show you something new as far as what I do until I actually might come across something that I encounter myself when I'm doing it myself for the first time, and how I figure it out and how I decide to do it and share it and see if that might work for you guys. But what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to get contributions from people around the modeling community that have YouTube channels. I'm going to be reaching out to people in the community, a lot of the channels that I follow, and several others that are out there, and see if I can get people to maybe help us and work with putting together little short video snippets. If you have something you want to share as far as a particular technique that you would like to share with everyone on how you paint or how you glue or how you putty or what type of primer you might use or the type of decal setting solution you might use with your decals, or how do you go about planning your lighting, how do you go about soldering. Everyone has their own take and perspective on all these things, and they're always useful, and there's no set one that's the best one or the perfect one, and it's always great to get a lot of different angles and ideas on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically reach out and talk to people and see if they might want to submit content like that. The bonus for you is that you'll get a lot of exposure for your YouTube channel. We have a lot of viewers here that watch the show, so it'll help people to find your channel on YouTube. You can put a link to your video in there or to your channel and talk about your channel itself. And or you can do updates of projects you're working on. We won't be able to get into like an entire build series. That'll have to be something you do on your own channel. But if you're doing a particular part of a build or something like that, and you want to show a little part of it that you're working on, or let's say you're a YouTube creator out there and you're organizing a model group build out there, like all the different versions that we see taking place nowadays. The Tom Daniel group build that Dirk Pitt and Chris Cortell run, just to give you an example. The ones that Kenny May over at Moonwalker Models is doing, all those guys out there. If you want to make an announcement about that and talk about that and put it on there, we'd love to share that, and we'd love to have that out there. So the issue that I had dealt with when we were trying to coordinate some of that stuff in the past was that it's difficult to move around large video files. Everyone has to have like Dropbox or Cloud or something like that, because a lot of these video files, even if you shoot it in high definition, or even any type of video file, is going to be several gigabytes in size. So a lot of people don't have access to that. Well, what I came up with after kind of working with that and seeing it didn't work very well was that if you have a YouTube channel, you'll be able to basically shoot your video and upload it yourself on your own YouTube channel, and then just mark it as unlisted. And then you can send me the link to the YouTube channel or to the video itself, and I'll be able to upload it from there or download it to my location here, and then work it into the show. I'll edit it into the regular stream. I'll be able to encode it so it won't lose a lot of video quality, and we'll be able to include it in a section. And I'll make an announcement about when we're going to have that, and when we're going to use each person's segment for during one of our shows. So I think that will help with a lot more diverse look at different ways things can be done, and it's a way to make the entire community more inclusive. I'd like to see contributions from people right here, people that are in our usual chat groups that hang out each week with us. A lot of those people do have YouTube channels and they're putting out stuff, and it's difficult for people to find that don't know that they're out there and things like that. So hopefully we can use this platform to increase awareness of all the other people that are out there. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about that and get feedback from you guys at the end here during the Q&A. So keep that in mind, and let's have some ideas, guys. I'm excited about it. All right, it's time to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to head over to the bench and we're going to work on our decals. These are brand new from HDA ModelWorks. He will have these on his website very shortly, and they are beautiful. They fit perfectly on this photo etch. I've been working on the lower section of the space pod area, the lower half of the ship, and I've got that completed. I put a couple pictures up on the group here, but you'll see all that in the update I do on my regular channel this week, and then we'll combine that with what we do here tonight, and we'll get you all updated and caught up on that. And a lot of people have been asking about that, so we'll get you caught up with the Discovery build there. All right, guys, back on the bench here, and we'll put some photo etch together with some decals from HDA ModelWorks when we come back from the break. See you then. Okay, everybody, here we are back with you again, and we've moved over to the bench now to do some work on our photo etch parts for our Discovery. This is the Mobius 1/144 scale kit. I forgot to mention what scale it was at the beginning of the show. This is the new kit that's just been released. I've been working on the interior. Let me show you the forward area of the ship. I forgot to bring that over here. I've been working on the forward area of the ship here. Wrong camera. And I've been doing all this painting on the outer part of the command sphere is what I'm going to call this. I don't know what they officially call it on the ship, but this is what I'm going to call it. To do all my paneling work. And the reason I decided to do this first was I didn't want to have to turn the model over and do all these parts, you know, when the whole thing was built. It'd be pretty difficult. So luckily the seams fit together really good on this. There's no light leaks once you you know, they've got this little beveled edge around the sides here that make that work really well. And using, you know, screen grabs from the film and everything, I try to replicate all this paneling. It'll show up better when I show my video update this week, because there's a lot of subtle colors on here that are not coming through. But it took quite a bit of work, and I made my own masks just using regular... I just made all these shapes using this type of blue painter's tape. And because there wasn't any complex, you know, rounded edges or anything like that. They were all pretty much straight right angles and everything, so that was pretty easy to do. Just took a little time. And then but now I'm at the point where I'm going to be needing to fill up my interior. I've got my wiring coming forward here for all my lighting and everything, so I had been waiting for Jerry had been working diligently on these decals for the photo etch parts from Paragraphics for our interior detail. We have the lower pod bay, and then we have the upper area here, which is the cockpit. So I started off working on the pod bay, and I'm going to try to get you close to the interior of this, and hopefully my camera is on autofocus, so it will focus. There it goes. We have we used Jerry's decals in there, and then we put in all the photo etch detail parts. You can see we have the little spacesuits hanging on the rack there in the background. I used some scrap styrene to scratch build some extra detail parts on the ceiling that are not included with the photo etch parts. But I've also done my lighting on this, and I'll show you how this looks when we do have it lit. So this part of the lower half of the ship is pretty much done. I've got the cargo, or the space pods that I'm working on right now, and deciding how I'm going to have them displayed in there. And I'm going to cover all that in our next update coming out probably midweek this week on my channel. But here's what the interior looks like with its lights on. If I can get this up close to you here now, and it'll focus again. If we can just come into focus, please. Give it 1 second here, guys. Sometimes it just pops and comes right in. But you can kind of see the general idea here, how maybe if I use my hand for a second. There we go. Try that. There we go. Okay, you can see the detail in there now and how much detail that adds using these decals. And now you would never be able to paint that on there with that kind of crisp edges and all that fine detail that's in there. And Jerry pretty much replicated exactly what's on the what was on the set of the original movie with what's going on in here. Even the decals for the space suits, you know, the photo etch parts and everything. So that looks really good. So we are going to tonight do that same thing on our cockpit area. So we have right now we have these flat photo etch parts that I've cut out, or taken off of their sheets, and I've prepared these with some what I do with these photo etches. I use a duplicolor primer on these first, because it's designed to stick to metal, and that's very important. I'll scuff these photo etch parts down if I'm going to paint them. I'll scuff them down with some 00 steel wool, and then I'll apply my primer that's suitable for a metal, and then I'll paint my base color or whatever I'm going to use for my color over top of that, and it'll usually stick pretty good. Keep in mind on photo etch though that if you're going to be doing if you're going to be doing a lot of masking and things like that on there, you're going to have a hard time not pulling paint off. Nothing likes to stick to brass very well, unfortunately, even the best primer. So you'll have to deal with that. But we're going to be using decals in this case. So these decals are meant to overlay right over top of these in certain areas and add all that detail that we just showed you in the lower cockpit or the lower pod bay area there, with all these control panels. And there'll be backlighting so we can illuminate some of these controls and everything, and just add a great amount of detail into the interior of this that we wouldn't normally have. Now, unfortunately, the model itself, as you can see, when you look through this forward area here, there's not a lot of... That's pretty small. You're going to have to get your eye... this is the area we're going to be talking about where the cockpit is. You're going to have to get right in there and look, up close to be able to see all this detail. But we'll know it's there, and if somebody does do that, they'll be amazed at what they see. The space pod detail area here with this door opener are a little bit easier to see from far away, but anyway, whoop, we don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and move forward before we break our model here and get things going. So I'm going to pull this sheet out. Now Jerry has some instructions with this sheet that are straightforward, and they're just basically telling you about how to work with these type of decals, and that they are printed in such a way that you don't need to worry about these things disintegrating when you put them in water. Some decal manufacturers don't include a seal coat on their decals, so you have to spray like Tester's lacquer or something like that as a sealer over top of these before you use them. Otherwise they'll just disintegrate when you put them in the water. The ink will dissolve. But these are all sealed up and taken care of, so they're ready to go. Now, typically on an aftermarket decal, they are not die cut. So when you buy a model kit, you're used to decals that when you cut out the general shape here, the decal will come off and it will just be the area that you're looking for with maybe a little bit of film around the edge, but not much. But on a aftermarket decal set like these, this is one solid sheet. So these all have to be cut out precisely, and they have to fit on our shape right here. So what I'm going to do, instead of using a pair of scissors, which is kind of difficult to get into these tight areas, I'm going to sit down here really carefully and cut these out with this number 11 hobby knife here. So I'm just going to get my magnifying specs on here that I keep handy, and we're just going to sit down and real carefully cut this out, and then we'll have it prepared and ready to apply. We're going to work with this area here first. There is a basic method for working with this photo etch. It has some prescribed lines on it which will bend when we decide to start bending it here, but it had these small little pilots and co-pilots chairs that had to be assembled first and put down, so they recommended doing that and putting them in after this was all bent, but I thought it'd be easier to do this way, so I put them down on there first. I've got them painted, as you can see. Excuse me. So we're going to put our decal down on this area right here now. That's going to add all this detail. Once that's set down on there and everything, then we can fold this and close this all up. We can't do that, obviously, after it's already closed, so we got to do this step first. So let's start getting these cut out. I'm just going to get up really close to it here and just take my time and cut it out as best as I can. And we'll be able to lay it down on there and shouldn't have any excess sticking out over the edges. So let me get on this edge here first. Now I'm pushing just hard enough where it's possibly going all the way through the paper itself here, but I mainly just want to make sure it's going through the decal film, which is the thin layer on top, because that's what we want to separate when we soak it in water and release it and get it ready to apply onto the photo etch part here. So let me make sure I get right in the right spot here. And hopefully you guys are being able to see this. I'm not trying to be totally perfect just yet, just getting, kind of close. Now this little part right here, these two little pieces are supposed to be attached to this, but it's such a thin little, we'd have such a tiny little piece. I don't want that to fold over or wrinkle up or something when we soak it in the water. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that, and we'll apply those decals separately. So we're going to be putting 3 decals on our first part here. This main one, and then these 2 little side pieces. And get that going. Making good progress here. I'm just about back around to the top. It'd be really difficult to cut this out with scissors and get it really close, because you gotta, and not wrinkle the paper or something when you make your turns with the scissors. So I think this hobby knife is going to work the best for this. All right. All right, I made it all the way around, and we'll just kind of see. I'll just kind of feel it here, see if it's going to pop right out of the paper. It's not going to pop out of the paper, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to now I will use my scissors and just cut out around this, because I know I've completely cut through the film. We're not going to have any problem there. I may not have gone all the way through the paper in every spot, but it's important. I'll mention that I'm using a brand new blade. Whenever you're doing whenever you're going to do some precise cutting and you want it to be really good and clean and crisp and all that, you want to use a brand new blade. Those blades wear out faster than you think when it comes to doing something like that. You don't want it to be dull and not give you a nice crisp cut. So there we have that. I'm going to in a second I'm going to soak that with some water. But what I wanted to mention here too before we go any further is that you can see that the color I chose, now basically the interior of the, most of the interior of the Discovery is white like this. It's just a standard sort of an eggshell white. Um, and so that's what we see mostly, but it's also working out very well here because the white is making the colors of these decals stand out a lot more. A darker color in the, you know, they would, because they are sort of transparent, they won't show up as brightly on there, so they're looking really crisp and clean with the white background. um, Now there are a couple of areas on here where the decal is actually going to be an overlay for where there's some lighting that's supposed to come through. You have all these small openings here you can see that are little individual control buttons and things like that that are lit in different colors, and we want to backlight that. Well, the small ones are okay. The decal will lay over top of that and not have a problem with ever, you know, falling in or wrinkling or anything like that. But some of these larger open areas, like we have this little spot right here on each side, that little long elongated rectangle that you see, that's kind of big. That might be a big enough spot where that decal eventually could sink in and fall through there. So I'm going to take some clear sheet styrene. This is 015 thick. You can buy this in sheets. And I'm just going to cut out some little shapes, and I'm going to glue this on the back side of this part before I put the decal on it. And that's going to serve as a little support for the so that the decal doesn't, you know, like I said, eventually fall through there or anything. And then we can still do our backlighting behind this. And I'm just going to cut out a couple little shapes here. These are just some small rectangles, so I'm just going to make a little piece that's a little bit bigger than what we have there, and test fit it real quick. And just lay it on there. If we cover a bigger area than that, it doesn't matter because you know the brass is going to block all that. We're not going to see anything we don't want to see. I just want to see if I can get a general idea. Now if I hold this up for you, you can see that this little piece I've made has covered up that entire section right there where there's some openings. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to make one just like this for the other side. Just lay it on here like this and just use the edge with my scissors and make sure I get it straight here. And just cut a piece that's you know, generally the same thing. Again, this is not exact science on this. These are things that you're not going to even see when you finish building this. This is all on the inside, but on the front side, it's going to look great. Okay, just like a real movie prop. Okay, so we have these little pieces here. So I'll just take a tiny little dab of CA glue. Let me get my toothpicks here, and we'll get a little drop of CA glue ready. And we'll glue these down. That way it'll have a second or two to sit up for us while we work on the decals. Make sure I get everything organized here. And we're going to do that same thing up here on the top. There is a, I'm going to hold this piece up for you. This piece all folds up and encloses to make a room. Well, this little area right here is the overhead sort of light fixture, you know, like a framework of lighting. So you can see that's just open. So when I close this up, I'm going to take some more of this clear plastic and I'm going to put a piece over that on the top of that from, you know, above, and then I'm going to diffuse it a little bit. And when we mount our lighting on there, that's going to look like a really nice overhead lighting panel for our hallway there. So that'll work out really good. Okay, so let's go ahead and get these our shapes we just made here glued on. Hopefully we don't have any issues with that. It takes just a second for this to set up, so we'll just put a little. Don't want to go crazy with this stuff. You don't want to put a lot on there. That way it, you know, it'll take a lot longer to dry the more of it you use. Just needs a couple of drops, and we'll set this on here. Oops. Don't want to stick it to your finger though. That's the problem. All right, I got that on there. got a little crooked on me, but that's okay. It's still covering everything. If it was going to be seen, I would fix that, but you won't ever see it. So we'll have that. This one I'll try to make sure I get on there a little straighter. That little jump screwed me up there. All right, get that on there. Just give it a little nudge here, and that'll basically show you what we have there. You can see those are glued in place. If it will focus again, I think you can see them on there. But that's just going to be sitting there for now, and we're going to let that cure up. By the time we place our decal down on top of that, that should be ready to go. That's all we have to do. Very simple. Now, I'm going to use a little bit of water here. My pump spray bottle and get my decal prepared. Just good old standard tap water. I've, believe it or not, over time as I've used decals, I know they've always mentioned using warm water to work with your decals. Now, I've gone away from that, and one of the reasons why I just use regular room temperature water is that I found that when I use, kind of warm water or hot water, that it washes away a lot of the. This decal film actually has glue on it. It has an adhesive on it. Otherwise, the film wouldn't stick. It would lay down there and there. And once it dried, it just would fall off. And I found that my decals tend to stick better and lay down better and not get as much silvering and all that if I just use cold water for whatever reason. My only logical conclusion that I've come to on that is that it's maybe it's the warm water that's washing some of the glue away or dissolving it. I don't have any idea, but it takes a little longer for the decal to separate from the paper when I use the room temperature water, but it seems to work out better in the long run. So over the last year or so, that's pretty much what I've been doing. You might try that yourself and see if you get any kind of different result. I'd like to hear some feedback from you guys on that. But I noticed a little difference on that. So we have this decal, and hopefully we cut through all of our film and everything. One thing I didn't do here before I go any further is I just noticed is that the center section is all open, and that is the hallway in the back. So we've got to cut that area out. So I'm going to cut it really carefully. Make sure I got my new blade here. That's the old one. This is an attachment area to the hallway that we're going to be attaching to this. So this part of the film has to be removed here as well. No problem if you got a good sharp blade, it'll cut right through this wet film without wrinkling it or anything. Okay, got that cut. Let's see if I can just pull it right off of here with my knife. Still wanting to hang on a little bit on the bottom there. Okay, we got that removed. Now I can check the rest of the decal, kind of just feel around it here and make sure that it's released from the rest of the backing film like we were hoping when we cut it out here. Not have any snag and come along for the ride that we don't want. I'm just doing this beforehand so we don't get caught hanging in midair here. Alright, that one came off good. Yeah, just a little bit of extra time spent here, guys, but it's totally worth it. You'll see that this will go on here really nice if we prepare it ahead of time like that. I can see we still have this open spot in the center as well too now, so I'm going to go ahead and glue on another piece of this clear. Give me 1 second. We're going to do I've got to go over and grab another piece of that. I think a small piece. Yeah, well, you might be able to get enough out of this little scrap here. I think it'll work. I had this left over for another part we need to do, but that's all right. We'll do it like this. Just want to make sure it's bigger than the opening. There we go. That's going to cover that kind of whole upper area there, so that'll be good. Perfect. Okay. Now, just a little bit more glue. Okay, where did you go? There you are. And there we are. We have that now. So that when we lay our decal down now, we won't have it just falling through. You can see the reflection now of the plastic behind that where it's covering everything. Gives a nice illusion of something being there. So, time to put our decal down. We're going to work with this area right on this side. And I'm going to give it another little boost of water here, a little bit of on our part. And the trick now is to keep our decal nice and flat and start letting it slide from one to the other and not wrinkle anything. Just like that. Okay. Now I'm going to look at this with my glasses again here and make sure everything's going to line up. And it's lining up perfectly. Jerry just did a fantastic job on this. I was so impressed with the working on the first part of it there. I mean, literally every little color and opening here is lining up exactly where it's supposed to be. It looks really, really good. Just working the wrinkles out. All right, I'm going to hold this up to the light and see. Yep, all of our colors are coming through really good. It's going to look great when you look inside it. Really, definitely worth adding this to the model. All right, so we've got that top part done. Now I'll hold this up for you. If it will focus. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? That's going to look so nice in there. A couple tiny little wrinkles in it I got to straighten out, but we'll just let it dry here a minute or two before we work with it. I'll take my paper towel here and get rid of some of the excess water. But it's laying down on there really nice, and it'll look just as good as the other part we did there. Okay, so now we had these little side panels here, which are these decals right here. So I'm going to cut these out. Yeah, there's a left and a right. So now these are just a rectangle square shape, so I can get away with cutting this with my scissors with no problem. Can stay pretty close to the edge. Also want to mention you get the nice Frank and Dave figures here. Frank Poole and Dave, whatever Dave's last name was in the film. So if you want to add those figures into your cockpit, you could. Okay, and then that's our left, and I think this is the right. Okay, happy with that. And remember, we put our little pieces of transparent plastic behind this little area here too, so these little areas in blue here are going to be supported with a clear screen behind those, so they won't just shrink up and shrivel up and go inside the hole and be lost forever. We don't want that to happen. Um, it's looking good, looking very good. It's going to be dry enough here pretty shortly where we're going to be able to finish up by doing our bending and getting this all sealed up. So in my update this week on the channel, I'll be showing you all the lighting that I'm going to add to this and what I did. Don't worry, you won't miss anything that I did here. All the lighting that I put on that part, I'll give you an update on that too. So we're going to be using some warm white SMDs in 08, 05 size for that, and probably one LED strip, a short one on the top to light up that this little spot right here, this overhead hall lighting. But we'll see. I like to see how the lighting looks in the actual part before I make up my mind for sure. Okay, so got one ready to go here. I'm trying to think of which way that's supposed to be. Like this. Okay, got it. Again, so when this is all bent together and folded up, you'll have all this extra detail in there that you didn't have before, and without the hassle of trying to get in there and paint that. That's what I really, really like about this. You could never paint that to look that good at that small of a scale and get all that detail in there. Okay, so let's get these guys starting to dry up here a little bit. Get another paper towel here. Very good. I'll give you guys a look. And there we have that. Looking pretty good, don't you think? And you can see that there's a little bit of a blue tint to this these little screens right here. Now, what I'm going to do, and this is another reason that we put that plastic behind there, is that we're going to have to diffuse this a little bit. You can't just put a light right behind it, or it'll look like an LED behind it. It will look fake, and it will look too bright. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to break that up a little bit. And so either what I'm going to do is put some type of material behind that to make it diffused, or I'm just going to take my airbrush, which works most of the time, and I'm going to just lightly dust a coat of white on that on the back side so that the light still comes through it, fairly easily, but it's not focused light, and that should do the trick. I do see we have another little opening here in the center that I thought I got rid of, but I guess I didn't. Let me go ahead and get that too. It's not, I think that's part of a crawl space or something that's supposed to be there. I don't think you'll be able to see it inside the model once it's in there, but we'll know that we fixed it. That's how you should always work. It's not necessarily what other people might see, but you put the effort in yourself, and that makes your whole entire model turn out better. Okay. Just one little corner that's being stubborn. Don't want to tear the decal. There we go. Got rid of that. Straighten them back out a little bit here. All right. I'm happy with that. So, normally I would let these sit a little longer to dry, but I'm going to, just for you guys here, I'm going to gamble a little bit. I'm pretty sure they're going to be fine. I'm going to go ahead and bend this and get it closed up. Normally, like I said, I would wait a while, but we got to have an entertaining show for you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and bend these. These should stick down on here fine. So we got to get this one here first, this back wall. And again, the lines on this are already prescribed into the material, so the lines will, it will bend right on that. And this happens to be some pretty thick photo etch. It's thicker than most of the normal photo etch that you'll get from Paragraphics. And these have to come in first, I believe. Yeah, we should have bent these over first. That's okay, we'll do all right here. And then up with this one. Over with this one, which is our roof. Let's get this to come down a little bit more. There we go. That doesn't sit down on there flat like I thought it did. It's supposed to have a little gap there, I see. That's all right. Got that. Looks good. None of our decals moved. So there's this side detail now. I got to figure out how that bends. Okay, so that forward lip bends down slightly, and the tabs on the corners bend down to meet those. Okay, I'm a little concerned about that, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. That'll give me a minute or two. I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm going to try to dry these just a little bit before I make those bends on the top. So this is a good time for a break. We'll take our break and come right back. Okay, back with you again. Just used my hot air gun here to help my decal dry just a little bit. I'm a little bit worried about these decals up here at the top. They're not quite ready yet, but we're gonna try to go for it here. Got this little spot that moved on this corner I'm trying to fix. Okay, the directions call for this to be folded over, and these things kind of overlap on the outside edge of that. Okay, so that's got to be bent a certain way. It's not quite making sense here, guys. Must be something like that. I don't see the reason for an overlap there when it's going to be hidden behind another wall. That's kind of strange. Make sure I'm not missing something here. Yeah, I was afraid of that. That rubbing together on the sides is wreaking havoc with this decal over here, so I'm going to have to fix this. I'm not quite sure why they've got this like this, guys. I hadn't gone through and looked at this. The way they show it in the instructions here on the actual photo etch parts, they have this overlapping going on between the side wall and this overhead part, but I don't understand the reasoning behind that, because the wall on the inside is going to be covered by the other one. That's kind of strange. And I'm not happy with the decals not being ready yet either. So guys, I hate to do this, but I'm going to stop right here on this part. We're going to go ahead and put our decals down on this other one, because I don't want to ruin this by rushing it. So they're just not ready, and I'm going to have to go and look at this a little closer. I will show on the video update this week what I discover on this, no pun intended, of why this is not fitting right, or what I need to do here. I just need to think about it a little bit more. But that's basically how it's going. I mean, it's looking really good. I just don't want to screw up these decals. I've got a couple wrinkles, and they're not settled down yet. So, all right, let's move on to the next part then. We're going to repeat this same procedure for cutting it out. I'm going to take my hobby knife and get right down on here again. Overall, like I said, I'm extremely pleased with how this works. It's definitely worth every minute of it, and just, you can obviously go in and add some extra detail in the pod bay area, the sort of garage in the lower half of the ship, because you can see into that. It'd be worth doing too, because you can see it fairly clear. There's some overhead piping on the ceilings and some different things that aren't in the photo etch parts that you could improve. But I basically wanted to keep this build very simple and show you guys how this will turn out just using these basic products, buying the kit itself, buying the photo etch and the decal set here, and this is how it will look just with those things. If you don't want to get into all the extra scratch building and all that, then you can. This is to show you that you can still have a really, really beautiful model just by taking these right out of the box and using them the way they are. I'll get this piece cut out with my scissors now. Okay, I'm going to put these aside, let it soak in with some water. And we are also going to make a lens, like I said, for this top part here. But we don't have to worry about that until the end, because we don't have a decal that's going to sit over this area right here. It's just going on this little section here. We can glue that on after this is all put together and dry and everything later on. And that will be our overhead lighting panel for this. It's going to look really cool inside the model, because you'll be able to look in the cockpit and see that extended hallway. Basically, this part right here, this opening right here, that hallway extends down there, and you'll be able to see that in the background, so that'll be pretty cool. All right. Some water on the part itself. Alright, now I've just got to go in here and pick off the extra film. And that should do it. We're ready to go. Okay. Again, I'm liking what I'm seeing. It all lines up really good. Everything is right where it's supposed to be. That takes a lot of work, because Jerry didn't have access to the artwork that's on these photo etch parts from Paragraphics, so he had to go back and line everything up himself, and that is really good work because it's done at such a small scale. But there it is. Had it for a second. There we go. Isn't that great, guys? I really like that. And there is some, if you can see, if I maybe if I put my little flashlight up here, there'll be some backlighting on this. It's way blown up with this light, but you'll see I'll put really subtle lighting in there, and that'll look really cool. All right. So it's just decal drying point at this time then, guys. So we're going to wrap up this little part here. Again, I don't want to try to bend this one anymore. I learned my lesson. These are going to have to dry overnight, and then I'll work with them. But you'll see, you won't miss anything. You're going to see it all on the next update. I'm hoping to have the update out by probably Wednesday of this next week, and get everybody caught up on the Discovery, and then talk about some other stuff that we're working on too. Oops, and maybe some of what our next projects are going to be. So we'll be right back, guys. We're going to take one more break. We'll come back and do our shout-outs and our question and answer session for tonight. See you then. Okay, back with you again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our little on the bench session tonight. If you have any questions about what we did there, now's the time to fire them up, guys. We're going to head over to our shout outs and Q&A for tonight. Close out all of our pages here and get over there. One of the nice things, guys, is I noticed that they finally fixed our live chat session here. Um, the It was broken maybe I don't know, 10 episodes after we started doing the show, like at episode 10. So we had our friend DeWitt Shaneline that used to keep records of that for me, and he'd send me a copy of it afterwards. And so for a long time I was missing, what was going on during the chat. When I'm on camera, I can't see what you guys are saying. So now I can go back after the show's over and review the whole thing in case I miss any questions or anything. So that's nice that they finally fixed that. All right, I'm going to roll up to the top here um, and start our shout outs for tonight. We got Dan Harris, T Commando, Mark Shue, Thomas Johnson, Phil with the Sprue Works, Pierre Fontaine, Barrick 13, Slappy Milk Toast, Mike Kovach, uh, James Kirk, Brian Knowles, Eddie Perez, Clint Llewellyn. Hey, Clint, I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you on. Um, Federation Shipyard. Dennis is with us tonight. Outsider 238. Armando. Nice to see you, Armando. Um, Omar. Nice to see you, Omar. Love that Leaf Erickson, Omar. I'm serious about getting one of those. I'm going to definitely work on that. I really am inspired by that project. That turned out great. Uh, James Schulenberg. Matt Alkire is with us tonight. Nice to see you, Matt. Robert Morris. Adam. Nice to see you, Adam. Len in Texas says it's his first time watching. Welcome to the show, Len, and welcome to our mad, crazy modeling group here. PJC 2.0 is asking if we've decided what our next group build is going to be. I'm going to put that on the page in at sometime this week, and I'm going to take feedback from the entire group. PJC, I wouldn't mind doing a Star Trek group build, but we'll see what everybody's interested in. The main thing is to get maximum participation, so I'm going to put it out there and have some people submit some ideas, and we'll kind of go with a majority vote there, I guess. Barry Steinlich, nice to see Barry. Rick is here tonight. Nice to see you, Rick. Hope I didn't miss anybody. This is scrolling a little different than it used to before. I don't think I can go all the way back up to the top. So if anybody was here earlier and left, we apologize for missing you. Um, yeah, Mark, a real space build would be something I'd be interested in too. I've been kicking around that idea. That's actually one of the ideas that I've had. I'd love to do a. I've always wanted to do a command module and lunar landing module, or LEM or whatever it's called, for the Apollo 11. I know there's some nice kits of that out there. There's some beautiful space shuttle kits. I mean, there's Saturn rocket kits. There's all kinds of cool stuff. The Russian stuff. John Bennett says he's watching from the UK. Well, thanks for staying up late with us, John. We appreciate you being here. Modeler X, nice to see you. Ken Spriggs, checking in. Yeah, it's great to be back with you guys. It's just been really, really busy for me here lately. I've got a lot of work going on in the shop, and then I've had, we've been doing a lot of spring things around the house. My wife gave me a huge honey-do list this year. We've been doing a little bit of traveling, something we hadn't done a lot of in the last probably 10 years or so. So my wife and I are in a better position to be able to do that now. So we're starting to do a little bit of that. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about well, more people checking in. We've got T Commando, Red Shirt Forever, Roger Ball, Bob Busking. Yeah, Bob, there you go. Next year is the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11, so we might want to think about something like that. That was a very huge, important moment in the history of mankind, still to this day. Um, Worthy of being recognized for sure. Yeah, talking about the show a little bit, guys. As I mentioned, I'm going to be reaching out to some of you um, that are in the community that I know that have YouTube channels, and seeing if you'd be interested in participating. We want to have, maybe a 5-10 minute long segment where you just basically come on and talk about some of the techniques and tips and tricks that you're using out there. Um, and we can share that with the community. And it just kind of, I don't want this show to be all about me all the time. I want it to be about, the community and what other people are doing. So that'll be a way to kind of bring all that together. So hopefully we can get some feedback on that. James Kirk saying on the photo etch that you can, on bigger parts, pieces of photo etch, he recommends soldering them together. It holds a lot better than CA glue or epoxy. Yeah, I would agree with that. These small pieces here aren't big enough for me to worry about. I'm just going to be gluing, a little drop of glue on each corner will be fine on these. But yeah, there's some large photo etch parts that definitely would have to be soldered. Yeah, sorry I wasn't able to, finish this up tonight. I wanted to do that for you, but decals just weren't cooperating. No fault of the decals. Normally they do take a day or so to dry fully. So, um, but we'll get you all caught up that on probably Wednesday of this week. I'll put out the video and show you where I'm at on the Discovery, and you'll be able to see everything a little bit more clear on that on the regular camera too. Yeah, Omar, you're being called out. Everybody wants to see how you do your fantastic work. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions about anything we showed tonight or any general modeling questions, we got a bunch of modelers in here with us right now that can help answer those for you if you're new or returning to the hobby. Um, see, we've got 83 people on with us right now, so we appreciate all you guys being here. Um, Another thing I wanted to show you guys too tonight, I forgot to mention at the top of the show. Jerry is now offering uh, paint stencil masks for the 350 scale Toss Enterprise. So if you want to paint on the registry, the main name and registry on the top of the saucer and on the numbers that go on the bottom, and I think eventually he told me he's going to have the entire set, so you'll be able to paint all the markings of the ship if you decide to do that. But I just been working on another client's Enterprise here, and let me show you let me show you how this looks. Um, and let's get the live shot here so I'm not delayed. I can see what I'm doing. Um, this is the way to go, guys. I mean, I put a lot of effort in to hide the decal when I do these. I put a lot of sealer on there, and I get it looking pretty good where you have to get right up close to it before you can tell it's a decal. But this is just beautiful, and this is the way I'll be doing these from now on. As you can see, I didn't get any leaks at all. Jerry's using a really high quality Oracal mask that's suitable for both solvent-based and water-based paints. So you won't have any issues with the masks, getting. If you use the wrong masks and use solvent-based paint, it'll turn into glue. It'll make a mess and it'll leak and bleed through on your edges and everything. It'll be a mess. But you can see that that's just beautiful, and that's definitely the way to go. So I wanted to mention that to you guys too. He's going to have uh, the full set available in the near future, but for now he's just got the get this put back in place. He's got the the top registration, and I think he's got some of the smaller ones, that go on the bottom and all that. The NCC 1701. That's for the 350 scale Toss Enterprise. So that's a nice option to be able to work with, and as I said, it turns out really really clean. So yeah, there'll be some information on the over on the Model Shop Google community page about our next group build. Looking to kick that thing off somewhere probably, let's see, it's April right now. Maybe towards the end of May. I think that'll be a big enough gap in between our last ones, and we'll see. Typically, I've been doing this a while, and typically during the summer months, the modeling communities kind of slow down a little bit. People get busy with their families and all that, but we'll see. We'll pick something, and we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get a good turnout for it. And but if a lot of people can't participate, we understand. It's that time of the year. Moving on. Let's see if we're missing any questions here. Yeah, and I've got this beautiful Mercury kit sitting behind me too for the real space that I showed that Atomic City 112 scale kit. I'd love to work on that too, but that's a huge project to build that full interior and everything. I'd probably be looking to do something more simple, like just like I said. I know Revell makes a nice Apollo 11 command module, or at least they used to. I haven't looked at real space models in a long time, so I'm sure there's some nice stuff out there. I know Dragon has that huge Saturn V that they put out. Ah, Chris, Classic Plastic has checked in. Nice to see you on with us tonight, Chris. And it's awesome to see you doing much better with your health. We've all been pulling for you, and it's just fantastic to see you continuing on and doing well and putting out your videos. Way to hang in there, buddy. Yeah, as Bob's Busking is saying, being that it's the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11, maybe there'll be some inspiration for these kit manufacturers to put out something special for that. But we'll see. There's a lot of good stuff out there already. Shouldn't have any problem finding a subject. If you want to do a crossover with Star Trek and real space, you could do a Voyager probe build, which I know there's a nice kit of that out there. Voyager, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, that's outstanding, Chris. He says his recovery, he's even surprising his doctor. That's just fantastic. That's willpower, my friend. That's willpower. You're a fighter. Um, Dadnator is talking about if anyone's going to the national IPMS national show this year. Speaking of shows, I still haven't heard any word or update from our local group here on whether or not they got the uh, how they did on the putting in the bid for the nationals in the future. I'm sure they'll make an announcement on that pretty soon. They'll also be announcing fairly soon the date for next year's local IPMS show here. It's usually right around the middle of February. They don't move it around much from that, so probably somewhere around the 18th, depending on what weekend it falls on. It's usually the second or third weekend of the month. But as soon as I get that information, I'll put it out to everybody. There's talk around the community. Myself, a few other people have been kicking around the idea of maybe going to Wonderfest. I won't be able to make the Wonderfest show this year for sure, but next year I think I'm going to make some solid plans for attending. It's a show that I've always wanted to go to, and Uh, there'll be some there'll be some more word coming out on that. Yeah, from what I understand, if you decide to go, you have to get like your hotel rooms and everything way ahead of time. Len in Texas is saying he is doing the bidding for the 2020 net. So Len must be working with the local group here. I think he might. And Len, are you the same Len that's the president of the local modeling club here, Alamo Squadron? Yeah, but that would be fantastic if we could get the Nationals down here. I mean, San Antonio is a perfect city to host something like that. I mean, there's plenty of other uh, activities to do for tourists and things like that around our city. That's what we're built on. We're basically a tourist city. So people coming down for the show, if they brought their family. Um, yeah, Len is saying Model Fiesta 38 is tentatively scheduled for February 16th, 2018. Way to go, Len. You know we'll be there. Michael Kovac says you could put um, Gary 7 on the launch tower for the Saturn V. Yeah, that'd be cool. From the episode, what was it? Assignment Earth, the original classic series or television show. Well, we're pulling for you, Len. Hope you get it. It would be great. It'd be great for the community and great for all the modelers around here, and I know it'd be a big draw. Everybody that I've told about the show that has come in and attended the show from out of state has just absolutely loved it. You guys do a great job on it, and as I keep telling everyone, it's one of the bigger shows around. So, and what I really like about the show is that there's a wide variety. We we keep seeing an increased presence of the sci-fi guys, and I'm really happy about that. But if you're into armor, airplanes, cars, ships, I mean, you have a massive um, turnout for that, and it's to be able to look at all the different skills on display there and everything. It's just fantastic. Well, good on you, Lynn. Make them an offer that they can't refuse. Yeah, the thank you for the welcome back, everybody. I do feel like I was gone for a little while, so uh, it looks like the questions are kind of coming to a close here, guys. I've actually looking at the time. I'm going to have to get going here. Um, so I really appreciate being back on with you guys. Nice to talk to you again. We're going to try to be back and maintain our regular schedule here throughout the summer. Um, I've had some big things that have changed in my personal life, and at some point in the near future, I'm gonna be able to talk to you guys about what they were. There was something that were I think you guys are gonna be pretty amazed when you hear about it, and it's had a big effect on my overall life. It hasn't really affected me a lot as far as in the shop and everything, but in my personal life, um, some big changes happened. A big surprise. Something I've never really talked to you guys about, but I'm going to share that with you at some point down the road. Um, it's been very exciting, and it's a whole new chapter in my life that's been opened up. So I don't talk about my personal stuff too much on here, but you guys are all my friends, so I think you'd enjoy hearing about it. So we'll talk about that some point down the road. But it's been great being with you again. I'm going to call this one a wrap. Thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. We'll be back not this next Saturday or next Sunday, but the Sunday following that. We're doing a bi weekly show. So I don't know exactly what date that is, but we'll see you 2 weeks now from now on Sunday at 7 o'clock USA Central Time for another show. We'll have some new stuff to show you then and get you caught up on what's going on in the community. You guys take care. Happy modeling, and good night, everybody.